It's not about win or lose. It's about win or learn. It's about becoming the man you were made to be. You're listening to Undefeated Men.
Spartans! What is your profession?
Welcome back, everybody, to the Undefeated Men podcast. I'm Cal. I'm here with Arden, and we're going to talk today about something that both Arden and I are passionate about, and that's helping people train to be physically ready, mentally sharp, spiritually grounded, and relationally strong. Physically ready, mentally sharp, spiritually grounded, and relationally strong. We want to train you guys. We want to train with you guys to be that kind of a guy. So today's episode is not for the guy who's looking to stay stuck. It's for the man who's decided they're done. They're done making excuses. Arden came up with the title for this one, and I love it. No More Excuses, Simple Steps to Take Back Your Health, and I can't agree more. We're going to cut through all the noise that's out there today and challenge you with clear, doable do's, no guilt, no gimmicks. Whether you're out of shape, burned out, or just distracted, this is your call to war. War on excuses. Your body is your responsibility. Let's go.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, guys, we're gonna think about this for 1 minute. Just pause. Excuses. What does that make you think of when you think of an excuse? You think of someone who doesn't want to take control of their own life, who wants to push off the responsibility of whatever that situation is. That's what I think of when I hear an excuse. It's you don't want to take responsibility for whatever that is. And this, we're talking about no more excuses. Simple steps to take back your health. No more excuses for your. You have no more excuses to be unhealthy. You have to take responsibility of your health because, Cal and I, this whole Undefeated Men movement is put on our hearts by God, and we wanted to push this out. And it's been on my health is a big deal, and so many Americans and people around the world face this, and it's a massive monstrosity of an issue because we, by nature, humans are lazy sometimes. Yeah. More than sometimes, a lot. Yeah. And so, right here, guys. We just need to stop being lazy. We need to take responsibility of our health, and we need to push like real men. And it starts with us. It's not like me. I'm telling you this as Arden Allison, but also it started years ago with me. I couldn't be here today telling you this if I was still 125 pounds, soaking wet and super skinny and struggling with my health. And doesn't mean if you're struggling that you don't have a voice to speak out, but God has brought me through a lot, and you have to push yourself and grow. And this is what we're here for, guys. So this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be really fun. Here we got first segment here, guys, is face it like a man. We've got to be able to recognize where the issue is, and with the whole program with that I've launched here with Undefeated Men, one of the major things I've seen with all the guys, it's a major thing that all the guys who are coming on board, whether they're doing the individual coaching or the just the workout plans with us, they all have recognized where their fault is. They can no longer do it, and they recognize this is the problem here, and it has to be fixed, and then they jump on board. But they have to recognize it. If you are too prideful to where you're like, oh, or you don't even want to take responsibility, it's all everybody else's fault, then you're never going to get help.
But Arden, I'm too busy.
So are so many guys. We all are busy. So is every strong man.
But I don't know where to start.
That's why we're here. We want to help you start, and so many other people that are, probably in your church or in a community that could help you.
But I'm pretty old. Isn't it too late for me? I'm 55. Or
Nope. I just brought a guy on the program who's 71 years old on last Friday. You have no excuse. No excuse.
I have to throw in my favorite one here. Yeah, some of you guys know, have listened to us for a while and know that I worked in a functional fitness gym for a while. So CrossFit, I'll say the dirty word, CrossFit. Worked in a CrossFit gym and I coached there. And one of my favorite people that I worked with, she wasn't a guy, but her name was Dorothy. She was 87. 87. She hadn't done any of this functional fitness stuff since she was 17. I remember at the end she could actually skip rope again, which was very exciting to her because she could not remember skipping rope since she was like 14. So 70 some years later, and she was like our best fan for that gym. She'd go around and tell everybody, I can lift my hands beyond, and she would only be able to lift her hands up even with her shoulders because she had trained herself functionally. That was as far as she could go. So she bought into the program, said no excuses. She was showing up 5 o'clock every day for her class, 5 a.m.
The rest of her life,
5 a.m.
active
for her
and
class.
healthy. And that's I'm bravo to the gentleman. His name is Mr. Mike Walker. And he's 71 years old, just joined the program, and he's like, I don't want to live a sedentary life. I want to take my health by the horns and actually do something. And he's an awesome dude. You'd love him.
Yeah. So I had another guy. He was 69, and he was just a private. So Miss Dorothy, she was part of a class of senior ladies. But this other gentleman, he came in for lessons just by himself, but he was 69 years old. And he was a former Special Forces Army Ranger from Vietnam. And at 69, our bodies pretty much look the same. And you guys don't know my body very well, I suppose, unless you've seen me for some reason. But he was very fit. And our strength, I was pounds stronger than him. Pounds, just like a few pounds stronger than him in every lift. And of course, when for metabolic conditioning, like say running or something like that, I was faster than him, but not by a significant margin. And he was 69. And at the time that I was coaching him, I was 44. I was 44 years old when I was coaching him. He was 69. And so the reason why I even tell you about Dorothy, number one, look where she got to, back to skipping rope, something she hadn't done since she was 14. And then look at this gentleman where he got to the point where he was basically had a 40-year-old man strength. Yeah. And not to toot my own horn, but when I was 44, I was doing what guys at 24
But
did.
it takes. So they got there by making choosing to do it and not taking any excuses. And here's another one. My metabolism is slow, and there's so many excuses like that. Like, hey, I've my knees hurt, this pain, that pain. Your discipline doesn't have that pain.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that excuse. And you can overcome that. You can overcome a slow metabolism. You can overcome sore knees. Mm-hmm. You can overcome and still get your results. Maybe you might still have, for instance, you have hypothyroid. You can still get fit with hypothyroid. It's hard. Mm. It's going to take discipline, and it's a lot harder battle and walk than another person who doesn't have that. But you can still do it. Don't let that own your life. Like me with cancer, I wasn't going to let cancer rule my life and me be sedentary because of it. I still played basketball. I still did these things. I still wanted to live life. You don't let your age. I'm too old. I can't do this. No, if you want to live life, go travel. Go do these things. Let's be healthy. Let's be real. People who start with us. You want to go out with your, I was just telling another gentleman, I'm like, I want you to be able to go walking in your 80s and 90s with your wife. I want you to be going and traveling. This is the life that we should be able to lead. But if we don't do this and push ourselves, whether that be with Undefeated Men and on our programs that we offer, or you actually making that decision right now and doing it yourself, then you're not going to be able to do that, unfortunately.
Sure. Unless
you actually stop with the excuses.
And stopping with the excuses, like talking about metabolism, as Arnon was saying, related to your discipline. I love this phrase that Jocko Willink has coined: discipline equals freedom. having discipline over your life gives you the freedom to do the things that you really want to do.
You've told
instead
me
of being
that.
restrained.
You've told me that because I've always been like, when it comes to scheduling and different things, more of a, I guess you'd say, just figure it out kind of guy. And I'm by no means Cal's level of organized and prepared and scheduled, but I've tried to get and apply more scheduling and discipline in that area in my life, and it does equal freedom. I feel more free because I know what's happening this week or this day, because then I can fit other things in, and that is very, very true. There's another one quote I love. I'm trying to remember who it was said by, but it says, where would this go? Trying to remember it 1 minute. Success is never owned. It is rented, and the rent is due every single day. And I love that one. Success
is never owned. It is rented.
Yeah.
And the rent is due every day.
Yeah.
That's good.
I love that.
You don't know who said that?
I can't remember.
Remember. Hey, if somebody, while listening to this or watching this episode or something on YouTube, if you know who that is by, just put it in the comments.
Yeah, put it in the comments.
That'd be great.
But yeah, success is never owned. It is rented, and the rent is due every day. So that no matter what that is, and I'm sure and this is what I was telling the guys who are hopping on the program, every one of these individuals, you listener out there, you are probably good at something. Even if you might not think you are good at something. What is that? And take that same discipline you applied to get good at it to this, to your health, and to other areas that you fall short in your life.
Yeah.
That is what it's going to need to overcome and actually be healthy.
Yeah, I love that. And Proverbs 26:13 is a scriptural encouragement for us. It says that the lazy man says there's a lion in the road. A fierce lion is in the streets. So what else it just means is that's an excuse for him to not get out. The lazy man, he doesn't want to get out and go to the road. There might be a lion out there.
Yeah. He didn't know. There might be.
He doesn't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I might walk outside and get struck by thunder. I might walk outside and, I don't know, engine might fall off an airplane,
But this life is risky. You might not get the results that you want from working out. But were you giving it your all? Were you giving it everything? You could probably look back in your life, and most everything you might have failed at your life that you've done and you've tried and you've failed it, maybe you didn't give it everything.
Yeah.
And look back and be like, okay, I didn't. Maybe I should start giving everything I try a lot more effort.
Yeah, all that I've got.
Exactly.
Yeah, put it all out there. So, okay, so the first thing we're doing is we're going to work on our discipline, right? So we're going to... We're those, what are excuses? Excuses are lies we tell ourselves that we feel comfortable staying weak. We're going to say, stop it. I'm going to stop being comfortable being weak. I'm going to develop some strength. So we're going to start with what we eat. And that is going to help you train. It's going to make some of these things different easier. You can't out-train a trash diet. It's the way that I like to think about it. You cannot, if you got a trash diet, you just eat garbage, you're just going to struggle to train no matter what. These guys that are up in the morning, the first thing they do, and, so Arden's cousin Josiah was telling me, we were just happened to be sitting around before we went on this deployment, and he's saying, hey, Dad, some of these guys, the first thing they do when they get up in the morning, we were talking about splashing water on our face. First thing they do is crack their energy drink and take a sip and start drinking their energy drink. That's the first thing they do in the morning.
And I know so
many guys. And he's like, Dad, it's a train wreck. I go, I know, son. It's terrible.
Yeah. And so many guys do that, and it's tragic because they use these vices like, I can't get through my day without a little bit of energy. Pop, energy drink, Monster, Red Bull, whatever that may be, and they're not relying on their own energy and building that up. And or you might be low on energy because you've been just gassed and your body's supplementing something else.
Oh yeah, and so we what we want to do is to put that into practical steps here. Step 1, what do we do? You've heard us talk about it before. Prioritize your protein. Okay, so we're going to make sure that we're getting 1 gram per pound of lean mass, whether that's eggs, that's beef, that's chicken, that's fish, that's you name it.
Everything, or all of them combined.
All of them combined. What works for you is what you need to prioritize your protein. Step 2, so you're getting good protein. 2, you're cutting out seed oils. You're just cutting out the sugar. You're cutting out the soda. You're cutting out the energy drinks. Okay, those are gone. We're not going to have those. So it's real easy. We're focusing on protein, no seed oils, no sugar, no soda.
Cutting out those sodas and the sugar, I've got to tell we have a couple guys in our program that are already seeing weight loss and losing the gut just from cutting out the bad food.
Yeah.
They haven't even like fully started like they're
doing anything else.
They're just a couple weeks into their fitness programs, but they're just cutting the sodas. And for some people, it's daily. It's a daily thing. And not to jab anyone, but it is. We get a food addiction, and these foods aren't good.
I used to help Marines all the time that were overweight. So they'd come in, they would in 6 months their diet just went really bad or whatever. Then they come in and they weigh in and they would be over their weight max.
Yeah.
And they were generally more burly guys, so big, raw boned fellas. So they actually had to watch what they would eat. Some of the smaller guys, it was almost hard for them to get up to their weight max. But these guys would get up to their weight max quite easy, and they get there, and it was always the same. I'd just be like, well, what are you eating? I'd sit down with them and say, okay, let's talk about your diet. And for most of them, they only had to cut out soda.
Yeah.
That was it.
Because for some people, it's like
they were drinking like 6 or 8 sodas a day.
Exactly. So much sugar.
Yeah. They cut that out, cut out the big, and we're in the military, so you go to the military chow hall and they might have whatever, the soft drink machine. That's what they call it. Sorry. Soft drink machine. So they can just go there and get, as many Cokes or whatever they want. So unfortunately that meant they would have a lot of Cokes and then walk out of there with a Coke or something. And that's what they were always drinking at work. As soon as if I could get them to just swap out a soda to water, that was it. They didn't have to go much further than that. But then you try to get them out of refined foods and other stuff and cutting down sugar for those that were seriously interested in health.
But you start making those little changes, boom, boom. You don't have to do it all at once.
Stack them up.
Get out the sugars and the seed oils and the soda, boom, awesome. Get your good diet.
And you're dialed in. And so we're cutting out the protein. We're prioritizing the protein. We're cutting out the seed oils, sugar, and soda, and we're making sure that we're adding real food. So that's part of this is that protein, right? We're getting meat and eggs. That's real food. We're not going protein powder all the time. We're making sure that we get meat and eggs. But the real food we're talking about are fruit. Like roots. That's potatoes and stuff, guys. Carrots. Okay, greens. And healthy fats. You can have fat. Hey, you said cut out the seed oils, Cal. That's right. You can have tallow.
Butter.
You can have butter, especially grass-fed butter. You can have coconut oil. You can have avocado oil.
Mm-hmm.
You can have these oils, but what we can't have is the different type of things that we know is like vegetable oil.
You can have seed oils when they're cold pressed, and I wouldn't heat them up in a pan. But like if you were to have some flaxseed oil that's cold pressed and you mix it up with some cottage cheese, if that I'm just saying because I do that. There's nothing wrong with cold pressed seed oils. You just don't want super highly processed, super brought up to a high, crazy, outrageous temperature seed oil. You don't.
Yeah, so non expeller,
and wouldn't cook
cold
with them either.
Expeller. Pressed.
Yeah.
And if you are going to cook them, you should really limit yourself to coconut oil, olive oil, and avocado oil, all at 350 degrees or less.
Yeah.
If you're going to use one of those oils. Like
tallow is really great, though. You brought up tallow. That's
tallow, butter, ghee.
Yeah.
You can, they also handle higher heat. No problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I named this one step 4 here. So step 1, prioritize protein. 2, cut seed oil, sugar, and soda. 3, add real food. So actual whole fruit, whole roots, vegetables, greens, healthy fats like butter, and the oils that we just talked about. And then 4, hydrate like a man. Mm-hmm. Okay, stop being the kid. Put down the sodas. Put down the pop. Okay, put that stuff away. The energy drinks, you don't need that garbage. Drink water.
People didn't drink all of that, 200 years ago. They didn't.
That's right.
And they didn't have the weight issues we have today. We had other issues, but not the weight issues.
So you want to drink a minimum of 80 to 100 ounces of water per day. So an 8-ounce glass, that's a cup. That's 10 to 12 glasses.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're thinking in a 16-ounce or a half liter, very common, plastic bottle. I want to be careful with plastics. But if you're drinking one of those and 16 ounces, either way for you to reference it, 6 16-ounce glasses.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want 5 or 6 of those or 8 to 12 8-ounce glasses. So eating clean doesn't mean starving. It means fueling like a warrior instead of snacking like a child.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is a bit offensive, and I hope you guys are taking it to heart. I'm not looking to offend you. I'm looking to help you change.
No, I think that's great because it's a good analogy because kids, so often even my daughter is just like, oh, I'm gonna get a snack before dinner. My wife's like, no, I just made dinner. Same thing. Make sure you fuel your whole body, and you can get a incredibly satiating meal that fills your body, a lot of volume, super protein packed. You feel full. Now, some people, you might have an addiction to some of these other tastes and foods. Once you keep to a disciplined diet, you end up loving a good, healthy, whole meal. Mm-hmm. I don't like fast food. I don't like it. Even if I could have it and it had zero health effect to me, I don't like to eat it because now I've trained
your palate
myself.
Is trained differently.
My palate is trained. It's like you train yourself, and I love the knowing, but also the taste is just it's so awesome now. So you can have that healthy food that fuels your body, but also you can burn fat. You don't have American diet in Western society. We have such a crazy high volume, and with that high volume, there's so many calories.
Yeah,
so many calories, and no matter what anybody likes to say, no matter what health issues you have, you can lose weight by working out and being in a calorie deficit. That's what all the diets are out there. Some of them aren't the greatest or healthiest long term, but they're all about being in a calorie deficit and then energy expenditure. Mm-hmm. And losing weight or gaining muscle, all of the different ratios in there to get to your goal. But that's what they're all about. Yeah. Now, honestly, you just pick one that works for you. I'm not severely picky. I wouldn't say be on keto for years and years. I don't think that's great for you. But if it works for you, it works for you. And I'm just
Yeah, and then when you get into that, using keto as an example, once you're getting down or closer to your body weight where you want to be, your path starts on the weights. Just start adding in a few more
healthy,
the good, healthy carbohydrates.
Yeah.
So that the keto is you're basically doing away with carbohydrates, but adding back when we're talking about adding back in, we're talking about whole fruits and vegetables.
Now, I personally think you don't have to keto. I think you can lose weight and eat healthy without being on keto.
Right.
I'm just saying that for an example. I'm not saying it's my way or the highway. It's just all about balanced diet, and you can eat healthy carbohydrates and healthy proteins, and good volume without just the crazy 1,200, 1,300 calorie name tag that it fits on a lot of these American meals.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely right. Because they're just too high in carbs and fat at the same time, and low on protein. So one way to think about this, and I kind of just termed this as an optional challenge, so this isn't necessarily for everybody, but some of you this might resonate with, as for when you're just struggling with, well, what kind of food are you guys talking about? I want you to just try eating only food your great-grandfather would recognize for 7 days. So would your great-grandfather recognize that as food? When he walks into our modern supermarket, like we always say, hey, shop on the outskirts of the, not on the inner aisles, the outskirts. Go around the outside of the shopping market. That's where the meat and the veggies
the cheese.
And cheese, the milk products, all the stuff like this. They're all on the outside of every supermarket. When you get inside there, that's where everything's in boxes, and it's
processed candies.
Yep, super processed,
cereals,
ultra processed.
And there are some healthier cereals out there. Just thinking of a couple, you got your Ezekiel cereals out there, and probably sell them at Whole Foods or Kroger's. They have Purely Elizabeth. That's a newer brand. It's at Whole Foods, Kroger's, probably Sprouts, Publix. There's a couple other healthier types of cereals if you like that and you want to have a treat, no problem.
Yeah.
But most of the sugary cereals, super processed breads, most of them are bad. If you wanted to get a bread that's healthier, get a sprouted bread. Those are good. There's just so much, like Cal was saying, on the inside of the supermarket. I'd say a good 85% of what's in there is just trash.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Crazy ice creams, microwave meals.
They recently just did a study and looked at this, and I wish I had that study in front of me, but so I'm going to try and remember the numbers correctly. But they reckoned that 48% of food in a modern supermarket is ultra processed. So ultra, that's not even processed food, that's ultra processed, 48%. I think that number rises to 70 something when you get into processed foods. In other words, it's just not like a whole food. A whole food is milk. A whole food is a carrot. A whole food is, a pound of X meat, whether that's poultry or beef or you name any animal meat. That's a whole food. It's just the food.
Yeah.
Or the thing. It's not a bunch of ingredients recombined, processed, and
here's
together.
the sad part too, guys. Like I've been in the food manufacturing business. I was for a while. So was Cal. As far as he was in, leadership and ownership, and just we were in that business, and we suffered from being honest, right?
Yeah.
Our business, we didn't want to cut corners by getting cheap, terrible ingredients for on the go products. But here's the harsh truth. I'd say most, like if not all, of the products in a superfood like superstore, with like there's maybe a few brands out there, but most of them, they all just cut corners just for the bottom dollar. And cheap ingredients, cheap oil, like oils, the fillers, all the crazy stuff, bad for you, shelf stabilizers. Most of it is not good for you, and they just do it to cut corners for their bottom line.
Yeah, and with the FDA regulations too, many of these things do not even have to be put onto a label, or they're able to hide these substances because they're either what's referred to as a processing aid, or they're a natural flavor that they can use natural flavorings because it's under X percentage. So they'll knowingly put something in that's bad for you, and no, they don't have to list it.
And we
because
wonder
they're not required
why
to.
we're all getting sick. Our hormones are just tanking. We have diabetes, cancer, all this crazy stuff because we're eating all this terrible food from the broken system that we have created as men, right? We're just trying to make $1, and people like try to cheap out on food, and then all of us consumers are eating the food, and we're getting sick. It's just a big problem. So we can take this and we can fix this and we can correct it. And not to poke you guys, but there's a couple of statistics. I'm trying to remember all the numbers, but there is a study done that the average American male and female are heavier and more fat percentage than the average American pig.
Oy.
And I'll have to come up with another time and get that study for you guys and read it, but it was quite shocking.
That blows my mind. I did not realize that, especially when you think of a pig too.
Yeah. The average American male is like 20 to 45% body fat or whatever, and the average American pig was like 16 to 18% body. It was something like that. I'm trying to remember the stat. If you want to do some talking, Cal, I can actually try to find it.
Okay, so so the first part, that we talked about then is, hey, we want to do away with excuses. We want to face it like a man. Then we said, hey, we're going to start with what we eat, and the next thing is consistency guide, guys. Whether that's diet or physical, that's the next thing we need to get into. You have to develop consistency in movement. Okay, so that's the things we do to keep our diet on track, and that's the things that we do to keep our physicality on track. We take that consistency, and now we're going to apply it to movement. So we're going to achieve some consistency in the diet. Now we're going to achieve some consistency in our movement. Mm-hmm. You don't need a gym. You need a schedule and a spine.
Yeah,
I wrote that. That's for me.
That's so Cal, but that's so true though. And you don't have to do it if you're feeling overwhelmed. You don't have to do it all at once. Now, I would encourage you to, like, if you feel like you can do it, push yourself and do both: mm-hmm. diet, consistency, and if you really want results.
Oh yeah,
you're gonna get some, and I think you can work your way towards that. But you don't have to do both. You can get your diet. I'd say you need to nail that diet and your overall lifestyle, like going to bed, sleeping properly. And then, you can give that a week or so, 2 weeks, and then jump into being active. Another big deal too is active rest. We aren't walking enough, in here in the States. Sorry, I totally interrupted you, Cal.
Oh, no, you're on it. We were just on that, achieving that consistency in movement. So, whether that's walk 4 to 5 days, 30 plus minutes, don't have your phone with you, or you strength train 1 or 2 times a week, body weight or weights, just movement under tension, and stretch daily. And when we're saying stretch daily, we're meaning stretch rather than stretch more of a mobility. You have to move. The mobility is the range of motion on your joints.
Mm-hmm.
And so rather than thinking static stretching, we're just meaning, hey, 5 minutes before bed, do some, light movement, which I guess we could call stretching, but you don't want it to be static stretching. I just want it to be like light movement that is, perhaps ending in a very slight or small stretch. What we're trying to do is get that range of motion. That's standing up, that's squatting down, that's laying down and pulling my knee up into my chest, and just some things where I'm moving my joints and keeping my hips and things loose, especially as you started with, whether it's walking and strength training. Ideally, you're doing that movement 6+ days a week. So if you have a very active outdoor job, guys, you need to focus on strength training. If you're someone like me who's got a predominantly desk-driven job, you need to make sure that you need to prioritize movement every day.
Yeah.
So walking, getting out there and walking, getting out there and move.
And we don't move enough.
Yeah, we just don't move enough. Motion is lotion and stiffness is a choice. So if you want to be all stiff and stuffed up, that's what you're going to get from keeping yourself in very limited.
Yeah, I'm sure you
movement.
guys have been in a car ride. You get out, you're like, oh my gosh. Number one, you're tired. I don't know.
Yeah.
You've been a long car ride. Like you'd think you'd be rested and you're not expending any energy, but you're tired. You're exhausted.
Mm-hmm. You're
stiff. Motion is lotion,
Yeah.
And you were talking about you like to work out. I think it was on the last podcast, like around lunchtime and different things, because it gets your energy and mentally, like you just
for the rest of the day.
clear for the rest of the day. You feel
Yeah.
a lot more sustainable, like energy, and that's good. And we're meant to be able to burn energy and move, and walk, swim, bike, ride.
Yeah, and you get stiff by not moving.
Yeah.
Like Arden's saying, you sit in that rigid driving position for 4 hours, then you get out to put gas in the car or maybe stop to use the toilet, and it's like it's like creak. You can hear your knees creaking as you get out of the car.
We're made to move. We are literally made to be active, to move, to live life, to do something every day. We're not made to be at home sitting watching the TV. Not that you can't be at home and watch the TV and for an occasional thing, but we're made to live life. Nobody wants to, and that is the bad thing about technology and phones and TVs is we get sat and stuck on the porch, porch, and people used to they garden all the time, and we people still do that, but I'm saying there's a lot of time spent inside as a couch potato.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Bad health problems.
Developing our turtle posture.
Yeah.
Looking down at that phone,
Well,
like
I've known several gentlemen, and they were great guys, and they were very active, and they worked hard. They had a great career, and then they were tired, and they just sat home with no mission in life, and they watched TV and
watch their health deteriorate.
Yes, and some of them are still alive, and some of them aren't, and it just what every one of them have in common is their health went and just tanked because they had no more active working towards something.
Yeah. And as men, we need something to be driven towards doing. 1 Corinthians 9:27 gives us, believe it or not, some advice that help us. And this is Paul talking about bringing his body into subjection. He says, "But I discipline my body and I bring it into subjection." That's what we're talking about with physical training. It was not something that had needed to even be addressed much in the Bible. It would have been almost unthinkable, I suppose, during the time that the Bible was written for people to think about this stuff because they just didn't have our modern conveniences.
Yeah, imagine hey, you need to go on walks. Like they just walked everywhere.
They're just like, what? What are you talking about? Go for a walk. What are you guys, morons? Of course, everybody walks everywhere. We're like, well, no, we have these things called cars now.
Yeah.
Nobody walks anywhere. And, no, my job isn't actually an outdoor job. What? You work inside? Yeah. People work inside? Yeah, I work inside with a computer. Yeah. And I sit down and I have my, you think about trying to describe this stuff, they would have their minds would have been blown. You're doing what?
Yeah.
You do what? Now, they would have liked this podcast stuff. They're like, hey, this is great. I get the message out. I can get the things that I want to talk about. I don't have to walk 12 miles to do it. I can just go and stand in front of a microphone and record it. They think that was
cool. Go to the
cool.
well, get the water for the day. They had to go to the bathroom outside probably. Mm-hmm. Most people, unless you were extremely wealthy, didn't have one of those, crazy, like more or less in that time, sophisticated, I guess, rock built, system with the water down below and a perfect little P trap, definitely high tech then.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, even a chamber pot.
Yeah.
You know, most of them didn't even have a chamber pot.
Yeah.
Like you said, they got to go outside and walk out to the woods. So, we need to, so we're going to consistently diet. We're going to consistently move. And then we're going to remember that health is more than just the physical. A healthy body without a strong mind or soul is still a weak man. So Arden kind of referenced this one a little bit ago, just saying, hey, you got to sleep. This is non-negotiable. You want to actually lose weight. One thing that's keeping many of you from losing weight is the fact that you've got your blue screen of
Your
death.
phone, yeah.
You
Doom
know,
scrolling, yeah.
doom scrolling, you're doing all this stuff, and then you put your phone down, and that blue light has actually just activated all these parts of your eyes and your mind, so that it's very hard for you to slow down. You need to either get like red light glasses or blue light blocking glasses, or you just need to put your phone down a few hours
I would
before
say
bed.
put your phone down, and not to like, put my conviction onto you, but one thing I have noticed, my wife and I, we talked about it. Like, we're gonna have a certain point in the after, like when I get home from work, we're gonna put my phone and her phone. We're gonna put it in a box. We're gonna turn them off, and we're just gonna not touch them, because not only we don't want to be on our phones and scrolling while we're meant to be having family time, but being like social media, it might be great, it has its uses, but it does, and I know this because it's done I've experienced it myself, and there's been so many studies. You get to watch other people's lives, which is fun. That's kind of the point. At the same time, you can start being ungrateful for yours and wishing you had theirs and different things, and somebody else has your exact age and has experienced this and traveling and all this crazy stuff. Oh, cool. So high, go all the time, and you're not living your life, and we get out of the living of our life.
Yeah, watching somebody else live theirs.
Exactly. We're meant to live our life, and then we stay up late doing that, and we lose sleep, blue lights affecting all this stuff. Go. Bah, 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 bah. So overstimulated, we just lose ourselves.
Yeah.
And go through the motions, gain weight, eat too much, couch potato, movies, and that's this was me, guys. Movies every single night, multiple movies. We got to live our life and take it by the horns, get into character of who God has called us to be, and stop. We want to experience life, eh? You want to go travel, you want to go help people, go mow somebody's yard, go spend time with your kids. You want your kids to remember. You jumping on the trampoline, playing paintball. I have awesome memories with my dad and Cal playing airsoft, running around the woods. Yeah. Those are the types of things that are awesome. You want your kids to remember, hey, this was my dad does this now, not just I remember 15 years ago when my dad was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I know how much of that. Yeah, I feel a conviction from that too. We, me, Jesse and his brothers and whatnot like this. I have paintball guns, a set of paintball guns. And we used to go out. We haven't done it for a couple of years now, but we used to go out in the woods back behind our house, and just have had to capture the flag. Yeah. Somebody had to hold it down, and we had to go and try and get them, or we did hunt down the I forget what we called the game, but you had to hunt down the one person, and they might have one bodyguard, and you had to capture that person, and just playing that game with paintball guns, running around.
It's so simple, and we wonder
why. But it's physical.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But we wonder why. And it's a slight veer off on a tangent rabbit trail here. But we wonder why we're so stressed and work and we're getting fat. And stress has so much to do with us getting fat and unhealthy. But we got to get back to the simpler times. I don't know if you guys remember, listeners, you either played football, soccer, baseball, different sports, fishing, running around, biking. Yeah. You didn't have your phones in your life. You didn't have these distractions, and you were just at peace. Life might have been busy, it was active, it was fun, and you were probably healthier than you are now.
Yeah.
And it's just
so much
take
of
that food for thought.
Yeah. And so that's, basically what Arden was talking about with those screens and stuff like this is that gives you these dopamine spikes. And again, it sends the wrong signal to your brain for sleep. So people are late at night, whether it's alcohol or, God forbid, it's porn, or it's just scrolling, whatever those things are, that is giving that dopamine hit that is using your energy and getting your brain worked up rather than calmed down. We want to use prayer or breathing or perhaps even reading to just calm our nervous system. So we want to actually amp down our nervous system so that we can get a good night's rest. And that begins by turning off those screens before bed, as Arden was talking about. Whatever that looks like for your family, whichever way that looks like for you to do it. You put that stuff away and cut back on these things that are causing you to have these negative energy impacts so that you can get a proper night's rest. And you will start to see huge improvements in your overall how you feel physically, your diet, everything.
Yeah. And then you start, sorry, I interrupted you, Cal.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to go into like a segment 5, just like going into like the kind of daily start of things that can really like help you. I do cold plunges. You can wake up early, cold water on your face. That's what, Cal does that. I do that actually every morning too as well. Cold showers if you don't have a cold plunge. In the summer, I actually don't do that many cold plunges.
Water's not that cold.
Water's not that cold. In the winter, I do them all winter, and especially because I like the added benefit of like it's cold and you extra don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But I do have a cold plunge tank. I just right now it's actually not working, so I need to fix that. That's something I need to do. Hydrate. Plus your protein. Get proper hydration. Eat properly. Proper health. Like reading the Word of God plus prayer. Write down 3 things you will conquer. It's a goal. You will conquer this today, and preferably something that you don't want to do. Preferably something you want to do. And I would encourage everyone, try to get 1, if not 2 things every day, something that you don't want to do, and do them. Mm-hmm. And you'll be surprised on how that will start shaping your mind and helping your physical, fitness journey, spiritual, all these different areas in your life. It'll be helping that, and they could be something in all of those worlds you could do.
Yeah, I love that.
Evening routine, no screens, 30 minutes before bed, brief reflection of prayer, go to bed with a purpose for tomorrow. That is a big thing. And this I love right here, Cal, when you put that down, is go to bed with a purpose of tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And so many people, especially on the weekends, and I think, especially non-Christians, but even Christians alike. And this, I was guilty of this myself, is I just live for the weekends, right? And the weekends were so crazy. Not like I'm drinking or anything like that. I'm just like, I just stay up late, so crazy, ruin my complete schedule that I had on the week. And then I end up hating Monday. And Monday starts off in a bad start. And then I only have like literally Tuesday, Thursday that are like good days. And then Friday, I'm like, oh, it's back close to the weekend. And then you just have like literally a couple good days of the week and like end up like just not really having a great, like awesome, steady peak. Yeah. You're just like,
yeah.
And I find it so much better. It's like after church, after Sunday, getting prepped for Monday on Sunday, not working, but just like mentally prepped. And, that every night, just like, hey, this is what I'm doing tomorrow. Or at least knowing that, this is when I'm waking up, having a game plan.
Yeah, when I'm back in my really, and Arden thinks I'm pretty squared away today, but back in my really squared away days, every night before I went to bed, I literally prepped my uniform for the next day. And so that, wasn't, in general, that wasn't one uniform. You probably had to have your PT uniform. Yeah. And then, so I had my PT uniform in my go bag with my uniform. So I would just pop out of bed at the time, whatever that was, say it's 4:15, I just pop out of bed, splash that water in my face we talked about, drink my water, we'll go to the restroom, of course, first, go pee, whatever, then splash in my face, drink my water, grab my keys, put on my PT uniform. I was probably starting with PT, grab my uniform, put it over my shoulder, and go jump in my vehicle and drive to work. Yeah. And so I get there to work, PT, right in my uniform, but you prep that all the night before. I had my lunch prepped, everything. I just grabbed it. It was all in my bag.
And people say they can't do it. You can. They're just too lazy to do it.
Heaps of guys did that.
Exactly.
I was one of hundreds, thousands, whatever, that were doing that. Millions, I guess, doing that every day.
And the funny thing is, you probably end up loving it. You loved that season of your life in some
Prepping
ways.
makes it way easier.
Yeah.
It is, for those guys that didn't prep, they were always making the choice they didn't want to make, but because they just couldn't get themselves in that prep habit, they were always that day being reactionary. Yeah. Instead of being proactive and saying, hey, I got my diet dialed in, they were being reactive, and they just would make the best of the bad choices.
I'm going to go to McDonald's is right down the road, you know.
And they would get the best choice they could make, but
yeah,
there was no good choices, really.
It's not dialed.
Yeah, it wasn't dialed in. Definitely wasn't dialed in.
So, guys, think of the next day. You know, whether, you know, like Cal, if you wanted to, like, and what I love about what Cal just said is he's thinking of tomorrow with purpose. Mm-hmm. So, you know, plan your meal, do some meal prep. We are actually working on some awesome meal prep recipes here at Undefeated Men. And we're going to be able to have those available. You guys can, look at those, meal prep those. They'll have how many calories, protein, and then with a shopping, checked off shopping list that you can just straight up go shopping once you get it. So this is going to be hopefully made easier for you guys, but,
that's going to help you because you don't drift into health.
No,
you build health daily, in one choice at a time. We've talked about that, right? Getting that 1% better. It's just making that next choice the right choice. It's stringing together right choices. That's how you're going to get into health again. It's, again, consistency in your diet, consistency in your exercise,
mm-hmm.
consistency in your preparatory activity, mm-hmm. so that your diet and exercise are maximized.
Yeah.
And that's, sleeping, reading and praying, or meditating. And again, you got to do some prep work, mm-hmm. or you're just not going to be. And the prep work can just be mentally saying, I'm going to do X. That's what I'm
mm-hmm.
going to do tomorrow. And then when you get up that next morning, say, okay, here's the 3 things I'm going to do.
Yeah. And maybe
and
if you're on a weekend, don't stay up super late for Monday.
Yeah. That might be one of your things. I'm going to go to bed at a reasonable time tonight.
Start doing these things that start feeding your life, and helping you and helping your family. So if you think, hey, does me working out, being healthy, me being prepared, maybe some meal prepping, some prepping my clothes, like Cal was saying, does that help you as a man and in turn help your family? If yes, awesome. Check that box and make that mental decision and be dedicated and disciplined and do it. If you're doing something in your life that doesn't help you or your family or your faith, cut it out.
Yeah.
Cut it out, because we've got to stop going through lives our lives in the motion and without purpose. We've got to stop making excuses and start executing.
Yeah, I love it. That's the recap for this episode right there. Arden said it. Stop excusing, start executing. Okay, our health is not just about our weight, it's about readiness. Mm-hmm. Okay, you can't be ready. Nobody's ready without preparation. Okay, you're not ready without preparation. And that preparation could be training that you did before or whatever, but when it comes to the event, the time, you have to have prepared. And so we can take small, and we can consider them aggressive steps that move us forward each and every day. So think about this for the next 7 days. Commit to 3 things. I want you to commit to movement. So that's, move or walk continuously for at least 1 30-minute period each day. And that could be lift weights during one of those or something. We're just saying 30 minutes movement every day. That move could be it could be a run, it could be a walk, it can be a workout.
Swimming,
anything. Movement, 30 minutes for one continuous period every day. For 30 minutes, I'm going to walk. For 30 minutes, I'm going to swim. For 30 mm-hmm. minutes, I'm going to work out. For 30. Yeah. Just do 7 straight days. Okay? So you might have to put some walks in there because you're too sore to do anything else. That's fine. Just walk a few days then. Mm-hmm. Okay? Prioritize your protein. We said 1 gram per pound of body weight. So if you weigh 180 pounds, that's 180 grams of protein. Get it every day. You can write down 1, 2, and 3 every day and say, I'm going to walk tomorrow for 30 minutes. I'm going to eat 180 grams of protein.
Yep. And
then your 3, we're going to start your day with a big glass of water as you spend 5 minutes meditating on the day, deep breathing and meditating. And again, that for Christians, that might be prayer or reading the word. But you're just going to meditate on the day so that you can say, these are the 3 things that I'm going to do that we talked about before. That's it. You do this, you can prove to yourself that the excuses are just dead weight that you've been carrying all this time. You don't need to carry them anymore. You're going to take them out of your pack and just chuck them on the side of the road because you don't need those things anymore. You just don't need them. Excuses are, they're just something you don't need. You can learn that by just following those 3 steps this week. Movement for 30 minutes. Prioritize your protein. And then start with a big glass of water as we think about what we're going to do that day.
Yeah.
Okay, so next week we're going to be hitting on the top 5 things that are keeping you weak, keeping men weak, and how we're going to fix them. You're going to want to hear this one because the chances are one of those things is lurking in your life right now and could be one of the very things that are causing all these excuses. Yep. So we're going to help you guys talk about that next week. So until then, gentlemen.
Stay strong. A good man's never stuck.
Good man's never stuck.